All right, we're back for our Fun Friday activity at the Angel Decor Museum, and today I brought a guest. His name is Stuart, and do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Stuart?
My name's Stuart Fisher. I'm with the Little Priest Tribal College Extension Office at the Village Market in sweet downtown Village, Winnebago, Nebraska. So we're gonna do a little seed bombing today.
Yeah.
It's kind of like making meatballs, but we're gonna use compost, peat moss, wildflower seed, and flour. The flour is like everything good, you gotta have some flour in it, right? My mother always taught me to cook kind of by the seat of my pants a little bit, and she didn't use cups and saucers and all this kind of stuff. She just kind of measured by whatever. So I'm gonna guess, and by golly, my way through this and get the right consistency so we can make good seed balls.
Okay.
So first we want to do is I've got compost and peat moss mixed up in here. I've got way more than we're going to need for now, so we'll probably plant some stuff later, but we want to add the flour to this mix first. So I'm going to approximate a cup.
And if you need to find the compost and the potting soil, you can go to Lowe's. The compost you can get for about $5 for 40 pounds, and you can use Miracle Grow for
You
the
can
sodding
go,
soil.
yep,
Sorry.
Miracle Grow or some other, several other kinds.
Why do you need compost for this? Like what?
The compost, adds nutrients. They're natural nutrients. This one's based on cattle manure, but they keep it over a period of time. And the only good compost is compost that's given time to break down. And if it's not breaking down, it can actually create hot spots. So this is really good quality stuff. It's concentrated, so it's got some good nutrients still in it, and the nutrients replace anything that the earth itself has lost over time from rain and just breaking down. So it's always good to use compost to start your. Now this stuff is just a mix of wild bird seed, but it's all kind of from this, wild flower seed, I'm sorry. And it's kind of a mix of different kinds of seed from wildflowers from the Midwest. And one of the real obvious ones on here is a coneflower, which is called echinacea. And echinacea and or coneflowers are known as a medicinal plant by the Winnebago people. The ancestors used that, and it's good for building up immunity when you're, the cold and flu season. So these things not only good for the butterflies and bees, but they're also good for us if you use correctly. Now I'm going to pour some water in this so we can get some consistency, but in the meantime, I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. I'm just using the very top bunch of soil, because if I don't have enough of all the ingredients, I don't want to dilute it too much, and we want to have a concentration of the seeds, so each of the seed balls will have seeds in them. So I'll just add some water, and at that point we had enough water so the dirt or soil we're using will have the right consistency. So we just add a little bit, and we just keep stirring it up a little bit until we add a little more of the other ingredient, until we know that we can form a ball out of this. We brought this along in case we needed it. You can actually have a bowl, a colander inside a bowl, and you could actually put this all in here and mix in there. What we're going to do today, because we don't have a lot of space here, so I'm going to try to get this consistency right here, and then I'm gonna hand off to Jordan and let her kinda make some seed balls out of that.
Okay.
So you would do it just like you were doing making small meatballs or whatever. You don't want them real big, probably an inch across. So just cup it in your hand and roll it around. If it's sticking together, then it's fine. If it's not, then you gotta add a little bit more water. Is it sticking good for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you might wanna do that one too.
Kind of reminds me of like a cookie dough, or making like when you're rolling your cookie dough or cookies.
When I was young, we didn't have computers. We could only watch a little TV, like certain times of day. It's just what my parents had expectations. We had to do our homework, go out and play, and then we could watch TV for like from 5 till 5:30, and then we ate supper. That was the rule of our house. So I spent a lot of time doing stuff in our backyard, and we had a garden, and I did a lot of mud pies. And this is basically kind of brings me back to that mud pie era. And it's just fun. It's just something to do. That's fun for the kids. It's fun for parents to do with the kids. And then we can set these out. There's a very good photo that we'll show later or try to involve at some point so you can get a good idea. But it uses egg cartons. So if you have some old egg cartons, these will fit right in the slots of the egg carton. And it's a good place to store the seed balls because they are a little moist and they do take some time to dry. So that period of time that they dry, you don't want them to be rolling off the table or anything like that. So if you put them in that egg carton, it really holds them in place. You can set them someplace where they have a couple days to dry out. Because you really want them to dry out pretty well. And
You want them to dry out before you plant them.
you want them to dry out before you plant them because if they don't, they'll crumble. If they're not given enough time, they'll just crumble right away. And you actually, this is almost like a time release way of delivering your seeds. And one good thing they've done with a group of people in Iowa is they're kind of, I guess they call them outlaw wildflower planters. They're a bike group, and they ride their bikes in Iowa in different places. One is Ragbri and a couple other places. But what they do is they take these bombs with them. And it's not everybody that's in the Ragbri group, but it's just a group of people that like to make sure that this stuff gets spread. Oops. You heard that? I don't know what that sounds like. A stick.
So one other thing, you probably want to wear gloves because it's a little messy, and if there's cow manure, you're probably going to want to wear gloves. So
Well, yeah, but I have to admit, it sounds bad, but it is allowed to sit for at least a year, or 6 months I think is the minimum. And that's a true thing for any compost that you use. You want to let it sit for about 6 months for all the components to break down. And there are certain things like weed seed that can be detrimental to a good compost. So it does take time for that weed seed to kind of break down. And you don't want that stuff to be in anything you plant anyway. And I see silica, I see sticks. That's all organic material that goes in that you can find, because basically what they're doing is they have this stuff sitting out in a lot, and then when they scoop it up and some of this stuff from the ground will add to it. But all that does is add more organic material, which is a good thing. Do you want to show the
yeah. So I'll show you.
audience our what we've come up with so far.
So,
And that's really the color, that dark color is what we're looking for. That means there's a lot of organic material in it. If you get something that's too light colored, it's generally indicative of poor soil. So whenever you're making anything that in your garden that you want to put together a good compost mix in your soil anyway. So this is just a kind of a small way of looking at it. If you look at the balls that we're creating to your seed bombs, this is what your soil should look like in your garden if you're just doing a garden. You want that dark, rich soil. It's loamy, it's got a lot of organic material in it, and it grows things very well. This one's got too much organic material in it. It's got a big piece of silica or something that's kind of keep it from binding. The flour that we're using actually is a binding material, and that's you can use clay, clay powder as a binding material too, but clay powder you almost have to order specially from Amazon or something to get it, and you have to order ahead of time, because I was going to order some and it was supposed to come in the 14th, so we would have been too late to make our little video here, but that's what I was looking at. I'll let you do that, because that one's falling apart. I'm gonna add a little
so
bit more
if you're
water.
wanting to make a flower bed with your family, because this is what I was thinking of, this would be perfect, you know, to let them dry out and get your flower bed ready and set them in there and plant them.
I'm gonna add a little bit more seed here, because really don't know, because of the way I mixed it. I tried to get to make sure that there was going to be seed in most of the material that I mixed up, but it's really not something you can guarantee 100%. So if we add a little bit more, probably a little bit more water, mix it up a little bit more with a little more flour, and we can kind of ensure that we're going to have enough seed in here to make sure. Some of these may not have seed in them, or very few, but the more we do, the more chance that you're going to grow. And the one thing about wildflower is most of them propagate by through wind and stuff. They give off seeds, not all, but a lot of them. And so you'll find clumps of them. You don't find just very nice, neat rows, but you'll find clumps of wildflowers that are kind of alike, like the coneflower and stuff, because they like similar soil. They love lots of sun. Generally, if you want to plant this, it's a good time is either spring or fall. It doesn't really matter. Now these are annuals, and so they would be planted every year. If you wanted to plant perennials, which grow on their own every year, that's a one-shot deal, and you say, okay, I want this area covered with wildflowers, the perennial wildflowers. You plant them once and they'll be back every year.
Okay.
These, if you plant them here this year, you might want to plant a different kind or more in another area. You can just choose what part of your garden, what part of your yard that you want to put them, or if you want to put them in pots, you can do that. And there you have it.
Okay.
Seed bombs.
Well, thanks for coming and showing us how to make seed bombs, Stuart. I really appreciate it.
Well, nice joining you here, and appreciate you having me. Thank you. This is a little, what they call a Jiffy greenhouse kit, and it's actually uses pellets of peat moss. And these peat pellets, there are 16 in this tray, and all you have to do is add water and they will kind of swell up as they show in this picture. This is a 50 millimeter, and that's what they look like when they're dry. And then when you add water, they actually expand up into this, and then you have your seedling. And this would allow for 16 seedlings to grow. And this is a good way to start your vegetables if you want to start peppers or tomatoes early in the season. We just had seed starting kits the last couple weeks. It's getting toward the end of the time that it gives you enough time to actually grow your seedlings. But it's still a fun thing to do with the kids. And if you want to try the seed starting, sometimes this is a good way to go because it's relatively easy to take care of, and it comes with all the parts. You've got a dome that goes over the top and kind of holds moisture in, and you can watch through the dome as your plants grow. And it's really addictive. It's something that becomes fun, and you always got to check out your new plants every morning to see if they've grown overnight, because plants grow overnight, not in the daylight.
Oh,